What's up, Warriors fans? It's your main man, Max, here from Warriors Latest. And after the news I just heard, I have never been more excited. It feels like it's Christmas in July. And the biggest news is that DeAndre Ayton just got bought out. And oh my God, I know I've talked about him before, where he's a perfect fit for the Warriors. But now that he's bought out, there's no need for a three-team trade involving Jonathan Kuminga or any other players to bring him in. I know I looked at his contract, talked about it in one of my previous videos to bring him in. It's like, okay, we're gonna do some contract maneuvering. We're gonna have to trade him here, him there, and then see if we can make it work. Now that he's a free agent, boom, completely wipes the board because now you can bring him in, say, on the mid-level because he's still getting his money from Portland in his buyout agreement, but he could come in on, say, a mid-level contract or even a minimum contract if he's feeling generous. Odds are at 26, you're not going to feel that generous, but he just brings what the Warriors have been missing. I mean, I've spoken about it again and again and again and again. The Warriors need to get bigger and longer and at least have a guy that can stretch the floor. Yes, Ayton can't really stretch the floor to the point of he's a top tier three-point shooting center, but he at least has a decent mid-range and can provide spacing for Steph. Now I look at him as a pick and roll partner for Steph. We all know that Steph gets double teamed like nobody's business when he's beyond the three-point line. But imagine this. Ayton comes in with the pick, Steph uses the pick, they double team Steph, and he just does a quick dish down to Ayton for an easy bucket. And I just couldn't be more excited. It is, God, I'm just getting goosebumps thinking about him playing for the Warriors next season. And it's just so exciting because they bring Ayton in, they can compete with the best of them. Because those guys last year, and I remember when I was watching, I was at a game for the Warriors when they were playing the Nets, and the Nets were up 20, and just watching the Warriors, it's like, yeah, they're up 20, no big deal. And then next thing you know, they come back and win by 15. And I'm just like, that is the Warriors team that reminds me of the 16-17 Warriors that went 16-1 in the playoffs. Nobody could touch them. And remember, that 16-1 team, they swept the first round, swept the second round, and then swept the third round. Yes, I will acknowledge that team did have the benefit of a Kawhi Leonard going down, which pretty much at least kind of derailed his career. But the fact that they swept all three and set the playoff record for best postseason record in league history, I think that says a lot. And I truly believe that had they had a big man and Steph not went down, they would have won the title this past season. No doubt in my mind. They were the best team. They were the team that played the best together. But once Steph went down, the wheels fell off, and there's nothing you can do about that. And the fact that they didn't have anybody to sort of lock down Rudy Gobert, that really hurt. We saw what happened in the first round. They were up 3-1, but because of the Rockets' youth and athleticism and overall size, they were able to force it to Game 7 before the Warriors' experience was able to help them close it out. Now, the other thing that I really love about the ability to bring Ayton in now is it creates an opportunity for the Warriors to sort of be patient with Jonathan Kuminga. Now that Ayton's a free agent, all right, they have their top target they can get at the cheap. Great. But they can be patient with Jonathan Kuminga. Now, I've said it before in other potential Kuminga trades, they need to get an all-star for Kuminga. They need to bring in something big that can be that third guy. And we know Draymond, he's a great Swiss Army knife, but he's not that third scorer. With Ayton in there, who's also just a double-double machine. Yeah, he had his season low with a 14-10 average, but he could still be that guy if he's put in the right situation, which he will be in Golden State. But now that Kuminga's, all right, you can be patient. Let's see if he'll sign an offer sheet. You can be patient and then work out a sign-in trade. Or just find a way to get him, since not a lot of teams can, sign him with an offer sheet because they don't have the cap space. I believe the Nets are the only team, and let's be honest, they don't want him. Even though I do believe he would provide some value to them, they're not interested. He does have that all-star potential, and I think in the right situation he can thrive, but that right situation isn't in Golden State. So I could definitely see him either being traded to the Bulls, who have shown interest, Miami, who's shown a lot of interest, or even the Jazz, who've shown a fair amount of interest as well. Now, we know the Jazz have a lot of pieces that they're willing to ship off for next to nothing because they want to clear a lot of not really bad contracts, but they just want to get a lot of contracts off the books to get younger players and see if they can get picks along the way. But I could see Kuminga definitely going to the Heat and at least bringing back a decent amount of bench players, which are going to help the Warriors in the long term. Because you need to have an extended bench if you're going to win a title. You can't have these, let's say, five, six, seven, maybe 8-man rotations. Those rotations have to be extended to 10 to 11 if you're going to go all the way. We saw what happened with the Knicks this postseason. They're running an 8-man rotation, and it's just ran them into the ground. They were hotter than a pistol going into the playoffs, and unfortunately, it didn't work out. Eventually, the wheels fell off in the Eastern Conference title games, and that's what happens. But you need that level of bench. And I think of the players they could get for Kuminga from the Heat, I think of Jovic. I think of possibly Duncan Robinson. Granted, now that he opted out, he's not really able to be traded. I think of maybe bringing back Kyle Anderson, who was on a great contract and was doing well with the Warriors, but unfortunately they had to give him up for Jimmy Butler, which isn't the end of the world, but it's something I can live with. On top of maybe other guys that are available, maybe Terry Rozier, a great guy off the bench. Now, he's going to command that level of money, and I like his attitude. Yeah, he's had a little bit of injury history, but you know what? It's a money matcher, and he brings in that mentality of winning, which the Warriors always love. He also provides a secondary playmaker behind Steph, as he's been a starter on good teams. We all remember how well that 2018 Boston Celtics did when they played against he led that team all the way to the Eastern Conference Finals, along with Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. Now, that was a great team, and he was a very big part of that. There's a reason they call him Scary Terry, and him being on an expiring contract also helps the Warriors in the long term because, you know what, maybe he's not worth the money he's getting paid right now, but he can be re-signed on a cheaper deal after next season, and I'm very, very, very excited for that. And just adding to the bench in that way is exactly what the Warriors need. But on top of that, in terms of a Kuminga trade, the Warriors have been making good efforts in bringing back some of their guys like Quentin Post with their cheap options. Now, I've said it before, I don't think Quentin Post is a starter for the Warriors. Yes, maybe he can be a starter down the line should their situation open up and he improves his game. I mean, I think about other guys that have been second-round centers, and I don't think of them as guys who can really step up their game. I thought they were just sort of big bodies to put in the middle. However, after I saw the numbers that Ivan Zubac, a guy that I was not a fan of, put up last year for the Clippers, okay, I have to give Quentin the benefit of the doubt because Zubac, he was a second-rounder for the Lakers before getting traded to the Clippers for, I don't even remember, I think it was Reggie Bullock. But I did not consider him to be even come close to a double-double guy. And he averaged 16 and 12 last season, which to me is out of this world. Because I did not see that happening. I don't see him matching up well with guys like Gobert, guys like Sengun, guys like Joker, or any guys like that. But he was able to do it, and I was just really surprised. But bringing Post back on a cheap contract also allows the Warriors to open up trade ideas. Say they do want to move Moody, Pods, Buddy Hield to bring in, say, a starter caliber player after they decide to move, or before they decide to move Kuminga for some additional bench pieces or another starter caliber player, 6-man bench pieces, or even draft picks for that matter. But having those guys available as tradable contracts is going to serve the Warriors very well, at least for the next month to 2 months. And say they don't trade them, I'm okay. I love the idea of having a backup center who is 7 foot tall to back up, say, DeAndre Ayton. I'm okay with that because I don't like this idea of small ball. Yes, the Warriors have a lot of their own free agents, but small ball is a thing of the past. You can't expect Draymond or Kevon Looney to man the 5 against these bigger guys, especially when they're starting to get to an advanced age. Yes, Looney did well, and so did Draymond against Alperen Sengun and Rudy Gobert, but Gobert was just so big. It's just you can't compete with that anymore, and they needed to do something. But you know what? I like having him. It's worth having around and letting him continue to develop and see where he can bring his game. But when we look at it, bottom line is the Warriors need to do whatever they can to lock down DeAndre Ayton as soon as possible. Because it's not only them that's going to be interested. It's going to be the Bulls possibly. It's definitely going to be the Lakers. It could be some other teams over in the East that want to bring him in. Maybe even the Knicks if they can get him on a cheap contract. But to be honest with you, I sincerely doubt that's going to happen because Ayton has the same defensive issues that Cat has, and it's just not gonna work out. I could see it now. It's like, don't get me wrong, they're both great former number 1 overall picks as big men, but it's just not gonna work out in the long term because the two of them they clash, and simple, it does not work. But they need to find a way to get him as soon as possible. On top of that, they should continue to take their time to let Kuminga's market really play out. My only worry about that is that the market may play out to the point where, all right, say the Heat, they go find someone else because the negotiations aren't going well. Same goes for the Bulls. Same goes for Utah as well. Next thing you know, they're stuck with, they're stuck with Kuminga, or he signs his qualifying offer, making him an unrestricted free agent next year. Now, that is worst case scenario because if he becomes an unrestricted free agent next year, the Warriors can potentially lose him for nothing. And I just don't want to see the Warriors do that, especially when it's the window is so close to closing for that dynasty. And it worries me a little bit, but I think the Warriors know what they're doing. They're going to find somebody that will take Kuminga, and they'll get a decent return. Yes, it may not be, say, a superstar or even a star, but it's going to provide value for the Warriors in the short and long term in terms of that championship window. And that's what I love. Now, on top of that, just bringing back those guys on cheap contracts is going to be essential. Refortifying the bench and having continuity with that bench. A lot of teams like to just redo their entire bench year after year after year, but it always takes time for the cohesiveness of the bench to really form, and the Warriors don't have that kind of time. So they need to do this in order to really have a successful start to free agency, and should they follow this path, I guarantee that they're going to win a title either next year or the year after, or hopefully both. And for Warriors Latest, I'm your main man, Max, and as always, go Dubs.